visiting Zoobler. Today, it's time to feed your inner animal. And we're going to feed it by showing off one of our best, a 2012 G&L Legacy S-type guitar.
Hey guys, what we got here today is a G&L Legacy. And it's a beautiful guitar. I'm going to do a little cleanup on it and a little tech review on it. And then go over some of the features of it. And I'll do an in-depth one, but this is mainly about the setup and how it looks and everything. And what we have here is a 12-inch radius fretboard, and I've got my radius gauges here, and I usually go at the 12th and then at the 1st, and this is a 10-inch radius gauge, and I can see a little bit of light underneath there, a little bit of light. And so what we'll do is we'll go to my 12-inch gauge, and I see no light. We'll see if we can get a better shot for you over here. And it doesn't rock at all. So that's a 12-inch. And these frets are in excellent condition. I always like to polish them up a little bit, and I've seen guys tape them off and everything, but if you're real meticulous, I bought these neck protector guards. Just inexpensive neck protector guards. You can use these ones up here and these ones down here. Makes it really quick. And then I take a little Scotch-Brite. A lot of guys will use double-aught steel wool. I don't particularly like steel wool. It does leave a nice finish, but what happens is the metal fragments from the steel wool, and not always the frets because they have a lot of nickel, but the steel wool will be attracted to the magnets on the pickup, and they get in the little cracks where the pickups mount and the holes and everything, and I just don't think it's as good as a job unless you take the pickups out and then do it. So then that's a good consideration. But this is how I do this, and what I do is I just lay that over there, and I'm real meticulous, and I take a little Scotch-Brite, and as you can, hopefully you can see in the video, the frets are in great shape, but then I just do a little burnishing, just burnish them up a little bit, and then I move to the next one, burnish it up, and I'm careful not to hit the maple on the fretboard. I do push it down a little bit so it can contours to that 12-inch radius. Do it like this, a little quick polishing job, and this gets them really smooth. I mean, you put strings on them and there's no drag whatsoever. I've always found that using this Scotch-Brite, I don't know. We're getting to the thinner frets up higher. I'm going to switch over to my thinner gauge. I'll go back to that one. And again, real meticulous, not to hit the fretboard. And again, no iron from the steel wool that I didn't use. That's a nice thing. Just clean them all up like that. Real quick polish job. And I use my fingers as a protector so I don't run off the fingerboard and hit the guitar or the pickguard. And there we have that. Just blow that off a little bit. So we're done with that polish, and yeah, they're baby smooth. Baby smooth. Then we'll just get a little rag I always use. We'll just clean that up a little bit and get that cleaned up. And this is a beautiful guitar. It's got a couple little nings in it, and I'll go over that with the condition report, but we have a bone nut up here. G&L standardized tuners, non-locking, but still a great tuners. They're like the old Fender ones where you put the pin of the wire in and then wrap it around, it locks it in, so they're really useful. And then, so what we have here is your typical, these are CLF 100 pickups. They're like a good, I always think they're like a Texas special kind of Fender pickup. I have a couple of Strats with Texas specials, and they sound very similar, very bright and biting. This is a little different. You got a volume control, and then passive bass and passive treble. So you roll off the treble or you roll off the bass. So there's no tone loss. You don't lose any of the high shimmer when you roll off. And if you got a little too much bottom, you can roll that down. Or if you got a little too much high-end sparkle, you roll that down, and the beef is still there. So great pickup, and we'll just go over how these mic out. We'll see what they read on the ohm meter on there. and we're in the bridge position. I have a 5-7-1 on the bridge position, full volume and tone. In the middle position, we have a 5-7-5. In the neck position, we have a 5-7-1. These are really even pickups, really close. And then in the split number 2 and number 4 position, we have a 2-9-1. So we'll double check that. Yep, 2-9-1. And that positions. So, and we'll turn that off. And another thing I like to do is so we've got a 12-inch radius. I have these little sheets I make when I'm keeping a guitar or selling it, and I started doing this about a year ago, but I take all the specs on the neck, and I've kind of figured out which ones I like. I like chunky, thick, chunky necks, like old Gibsons, and I have a G&L with really thick 1D neck. I love it, but I don't, because of some nerve damage in my arm, I can't play a real thin neck for some reason for too long. It really starts bothering me. But what I do is I take down what the make and model and the year of the guitar is, what the body's made of, what the neck's made of, the model number and the color of it, the radius, and then I do a little schematic on the neck profile at the nut, the 1st fret, and then at the 12th fret. And I've done quite a few of these, and as I go on, I'll share them and build a composite so you can see. I've got some G&Ls in here because I'm mainly a G&L guy. I love G&L guitars. I've got some Gibsons, ES330s, some Les Pauls, and I got some that I haven't filled out, and then I have some Fenders in there also. And those will be coming. I'll do videos on those. But what I do is number one, I'll take a spec on the with my caliper, and we'll measure the width at the 12th fret. This one I measured at 2407. So we got that, 2.047. And then at the nut, I take a measurement, but I take it right behind the nut because sometimes the nut is slightly overcut and it's not good representation of the neck. So I go right behind the nut and take a measurement. And then this one we have at 1636. We're gonna write that measurement down here. And I write it on here. And we go 1.636. And then I do a depth measurement at right behind the 1st fret. Take that away slow. And this one we have 0.805. And then right behind the 12th fret, I do another one. And make sure that's not hitting the fret. We'll pull that away. And we have an 880. Got an 880 on my caliper, so we'll write that number down. And so like I said, I'll take the depth of the fingerboard, I'll take the width of the fingerboard, and then I'll compile a list, and I give it a scale, and this scale's only for me. This has nothing to do with anybody else. This is just my type of guitars. When I find that crazy guitar that I love, which would hit a number 10, that goes into my private vault and I keep it. And I've got a couple of those from the 70s on. I haven't kept a lot. I have a pretty small personal collection, but and that doesn't mean they're bad guitars. It just means it's not my thing, but it might be your thing. And on a scale of 1 to 10 fitting my hand and my playing style, I give this a number 7 because that's a pretty thin nut, thin medium chunk to it, not a real heavy gauge. And G&L would call that a classic one neck, not the modern one, but the older one. So, and then what I do is to get that neck profile, I bought this little contour gauge for carpenters, and you can get them pretty much anywhere. I got this one at Harbor Freight, pretty inexpensive. And I'll just come up and mic the back of the number 1 fret. We'll just go down and make sure that's all in there. And then I'll transfer this over to my piece of paper, take my magic marker, do a fill that in, drive it across. And then I have a 1st fret profile, then I'll zero it out. And then I'll do the same thing on the right under the 12th fret, and we'll bring that up and in. And I make sure that I get all of those in there. And we take that one, and then it's the same thing. Lay it down, transfer it in, fill it in, and then I've got my little thing. And when I go to sell a guitar, I'll in the future I'll be putting up a picture of this because I think it's really valuable stuff for someone who really, because hardly anybody I sell to buys locally. It's usually over the internet, so it might be a real helpful thing for them to compare it to their existing guitar, what the chunk may actually be, because as we all know, even though this might be a stock neck, whoever finished it out may have sanded it a little more in one area than the other. It got a little thinner, left it a little thick, so they do variate. So I like to get a nice thing on that. Okay. And then what we'll do is I'm going to take off the pick guard so you can take a look inside. And this is your standard G&L 2-point bridge designed by Leo Fender. Great floating bridge. We'll take a look at the back. I think it's superior to Fender bridges, and Fender ended up copying it later, moving from the vintage style bridge to the 2-point. Just seems to float and stay in tune a little bit more. My personal preference is I lock the bridges so they don't go up. They can go down but not up. It helps me with tuning stability. So what we'll do is we're going to take off this pick guard. And then what I do is, so I keep all my gauges here, and I got feeler gauges so I can set the action and everything. My radius gauges, my caliper that I need to turn off. And then I have a magnetic strap wrist that my daughter actually gave me. And I just use that for screws so nothing gets all over the place on the bench. And I just take these and pop them right there, and I never lose them. And actually, I'm going to lift up this pick guard and take a look inside. And a little tight at the neck pocket, but that's okay. And we've got factory. There we go. We'll tuck this over here so we can take a look. Yep, and the 600 is a Legacy pickguard. I happen to know that. The other ones are S500 and a Comanche would have a different number on them, 637s and stuff, but a Legacy is a 600. And these are the G&L CLF 500, 100s, I'm sorry. And we got some CTS, looks like a CTS pot. That's a 250K. And then I have some unmarked ones, but they're usually CTS, and then usually a switchcraft switch. So we got your 5-way switch, and you can see we've got our grounding and our positive and the grounding to the tremolo. And then inside we have G&L does markings, and look how clean that whole cavity is. Perfectly, no shredded material, just a nice, and this guitar was used. This is a 2012, built in October 2012. Older body, 1A neck, black pearl color, and it came off lane 22. And then there's the body tag. And most of them actually say what the body material would be, but on G&Ls, usually the solid colors are older bodies, and then the translucent colors are ash. But there have been some solid colors that were special ordered with ash bodies, because with G&L you can pretty much order anything you'd like and have it custom built for you. And really, compared to the Fender custom shop, comes in probably 30 or 40% less for a near identical product. I mean, it's you can get a custom made G&L for under $2,000, and you can't even approach custom shop beginning at about $3,500. Both great guitars, but I just like the hands-on. I mean, no fret spud. The Sprout, this guitar has been played, like I said, it's 7 years old, 6.5 years old now, and no fret sprout here. The frets are immaculate. It's got a little ding on it right here. I'm not sure if you can see it in the picture.
Otherwise, black's a very unforgiving color. The body's very clean here. And we're going to, so you can see that G&L pick guard. We'll put this back together. And that's a multi-ply pick guard, black, white, pearl. And you can see inside there again, very clean. We'll put this back together. Just drop that right back in. There we go. And we'll put this back. Over. Take a look at the back. Okay, got a little bit of body swirl here from shirts. One little scratch, little intersection scratch right up here, and some body oil on it. Let's get that off there. And you got your tremolo with the large block. And we have our, the newer G&Ls they go through periods of the number stenciled on, stamped on, burned in. They went through a period where they had serial number plates, but I guess they decided someone could take the serial number off and move it to another guitar, so they stopped that. We got our 4-pump neck, no tilt adjustment. They make that up with the bridge. And then just a nice clean hard rock maple neck. Real good shape, just nice and smooth, no real dings or wear on it. And we'll take off that trim cover. We'll take a look at that. You got your basic black plastic 6072, which goes to, that's the actual color of these. Black 3-ply, black, white, black. And then we have our large block trim, which is a steel trim, chrome plated, 3 heavy-duty springs, and your trim adjuster screws. And again, you can see how clean that cavity is in there. It's clean. I haven't had this apart. We'll do the old breath. Breathe on it a little bit, clean it up a little bit. And what we'll do is we'll get my Fender guitar polish. Move this out of the way. Just give it a spritz there. Polish that up a little bit. Really good smell. Clean that baby up. Buff that up a little bit. This is a rag I use for every one of my guitars. I should wash this thing. It's just got so much good guitar polishing stuff on it. And then we'll just spritz the neck a little bit. And the neck is clean. Like I said. Over. Hi, so we're back and I've got the guitar all back together, cleaned up. Condition wise, I'd say it's in really good shape. It's not excellent, it's been played. There's some shirt swirl on the back, little pick swirl on the pick guard, and one little micro ding right there. Not sure what it's from, but it's there. The rest of the edges are all clean. Neck pocket is all clean. Neck is smooth. It's got rolled edges a little bit. The fret sprout is almost non-existent. I mean, if I roll over, I can feel it very little. I set the truss rod, a little bit of a relief. The action's set low. And we're ready to roll. And we'll just roll through some sounds. You got your passive G&L treble and
bass roll-offs. You got bass here and treble here, and your standard volume, and a 5-way switch. So let's just run through a couple of tones. Here's the bridge position. Number 2 position, bridge and middle. Got that quack going. Middle position. Number 4 position, middle neck. Neck. And we're going to roll off that treble so you can hear what it sounds like. There's the treble roll off. The bottom's still there. Now we're going to roll off the bass. And make it real thin. Bridge position, we'll roll off that treble. So you can get that woman tone. We're going to roll off that bass. You want it to get that Telecaster tone. Get a little bit of that Telecaster tone. Anyway, nice guitar, great condition except for a little ding there, little pick swirl on the pick guard, some shirt swirl, could probably be buffed out. I didn't buff it out. I mean, I just rubbed it. Good compound wheel would do it good. And the controls all work well, nice and smooth, just like you expect them. So anyway, hope you like it. Please leave a thumbs up, like the video. Please subscribe, helps me build the channel, and you're a part of building this channel, and I really appreciate you watching the videos. And if you got any suggestions on how to make them better, I'm open to suggestions. So thanks a lot. Have a great day. Bye.